Grok Bot, how effective is it and where does it fit in the AI landscape? Artificial intelligence assistants are no longer just experimental chat boxes. They are becoming search companions, writing partners, coding helpers, research assistants, creative studios, and in some cases, early versions of autonomous agents. One of the most visible examples is Grok, the AI assistant developed by xAI and closely associated with the X platform. Grok is often described as a more conversational, real-time, personality-driven chatbot, but the more useful question is not whether it sounds impressive. The real question is, how effective is Grok Bot in practical use? To answer that, we need to separate hype from actual capability. A chatbot is effective when it helps a user reach a goal faster, with less confusion, and with results that are accurate enough to be useful. That goal might be understanding breaking news, summarizing a long document, drafting a post, analyzing an image, writing code, brainstorming ideas, or comparing different viewpoints. Grok can be effective in many of these areas, but like every AI system, its performance depends on the task, the quality of the prompt, the available tools, and the user's willingness to verify important claims. Grok's biggest advantage is its connection to live information. Traditional AI assistants can be limited by what they were trained on, but Grok has been designed around real-time search and access to current web and X-based information. This can make it especially useful for fast-moving topics: technology launches, social trends, sports reactions, market chatter, public debates, and breaking cultural moments. If you are trying to understand what people are saying right now, Grok's link to the live internet and the X ecosystem can be a serious strength. That does not mean it is automatically correct. Real-time information can be messy. Social platforms amplify rumors, jokes, half-truths, marketing claims, and emotional reactions. A bot that can read the live conversation can also inherit the noise of that conversation. So Grok's effectiveness in real-time research depends on whether it can separate reliable evidence from viral momentum. For casual awareness, it can be very useful. For decisions involving money, health, law, safety, or reputation, its answer should be treated as a starting point, not a final authority. Another area where Grok can be effective is explanation. Like other advanced AI assistants, it can take a complex topic and make it more understandable. If you ask it to explain a technical paper, compare two products, summarize a policy debate, or turn a dense article into plain language, the benefit is speed. Instead of reading 10 pages before you know what matters, you can ask for the core idea, the trade-offs, and the questions you should ask next. This is one of the most practical uses of any chatbot. Not replacing thought, but giving thought a better starting point. Grok also has creative value. It can help draft social posts, scripts, captions, emails, outlines, hooks, video concepts, thumbnails, and campaign angles. For creators, this can be a major productivity boost. The bot can generate several directions quickly, and the user can choose the best one. But the strongest creative results usually come when the human stays in the loop. AI-generated writing can be smooth but generic. It may produce good structure while missing lived experience, emotional specificity, or brand nuance. Grok is most effective as a creative partner, not as a complete replacement for human taste. For coding and technical work, Grok's effectiveness depends on the complexity of the project. It can explain code, generate functions, suggest fixes, and help debug common problems. When paired with developer tools, search, and file analysis, it can become more powerful. But coding is an area where small errors can have large consequences. A bot may generate code that looks correct but fails in edge cases, ignores security concerns, or misunderstands an existing code base. The best use is interactive. Ask for a first draft, run tests, inspect the output, and use the bot to reason through failures. Grok's multimodal capabilities also matter. Modern AI assistants are no longer limited to text. They can analyze images, screenshots, documents, spreadsheets, and sometimes audio or video workflows. This opens practical use cases: reading a chart, explaining a screenshot, summarizing a PDF, extracting information from a file, or helping a user understand a visual design. For many people, this is where AI becomes less like a chatbot and more like a general-purpose assistant. If the bot can see what you are working on and respond in context, it reduces friction. Voice mode is another sign of where these tools are going. A text interface is useful, but voice makes AI feel more immediate. You can ask a question while walking, driving, cooking, or working with your hands. A responsive voice assistant can become a tutor, a planning partner, or a quick research companion. The effectiveness here is not only about intelligence, it is about latency, naturalness, interruption handling, and whether the assistant can keep context over a real conversation. If voice feels slow or robotic, people stop using it. If it feels natural, it changes the habit entirely. But Grok's personality is a double-edged sword. One reason people notice Grok is that it has been marketed as less formal and more willing to answer with humor or edge. That can make it engaging. It can also make it risky in professional settings. A playful tone is helpful when brainstorming or making content feel less bland. But when a user needs careful, neutral, high-stakes analysis, personality should not outrun precision. Effectiveness is not only about confidence. It is about knowing when to be direct, when to be cautious, and when to say, "I'm not sure." The most important limitation of Grok Bot, and of all AI bots, is reliability. Large language models generate language based on patterns and context. They can reason impressively, but they can also hallucinate, invent facts, misquote sources, overstate confidence, or blur the line between evidence and prediction. This is why the best users of AI are not passive users. They ask follow-up questions. They request sources. They compare answers. They test code. They look for contradictions. The bot becomes much more effective when the human treats it like a powerful assistant with imperfect judgment. Privacy is another important factor. If a user uploads documents, business plans, screenshots, or personal information, they should understand how that data is handled. For individuals, this might mean avoiding sensitive uploads unless necessary. For companies, it means using enterprise controls, reviewing data policies, and deciding what can safely be processed by an AI tool. A bot may be effective from a productivity standpoint, but still inappropriate for certain confidential workflows. So, where is Grok most effective today? First, it is strong for real-time awareness, especially around public conversation and current topics. Second, it is useful for summarization and explanation, helping users move from confusion to clarity. Third, it can accelerate creative work, especially when generating options, hooks, outlines, and drafts. Fourth, it can support technical work, as long as users test and verify the output. Fifth, it can serve as a multimodal assistant when users need help understanding files, images, screenshots, or other media. Where is it less effective? It is weaker when the task requires guaranteed accuracy, deep domain expertise without verification, or careful legal, medical, financial, or safety judgment. It is also weaker when the user gives vague instructions. If you ask a vague question, you may get a broad answer. If you give context, constraints, examples, and a clear goal, the output improves dramatically. Prompt quality still matters. The best way to think about Grok Bot is not as a magic machine that knows everything. It is better understood as an accelerator. It accelerates research, drafting, comparison, analysis, and brainstorming. It gives you a first pass in seconds. It helps you explore more options than you would have created alone. It can reduce the blank page problem. It can make technical topics feel less intimidating. It can help a solo creator or small business move faster. But acceleration is not the same as truth. A fast answer can still be wrong. A polished paragraph can still hide weak reasoning. A confident recommendation can still miss the details that matter most. That is why the ideal workflow is human plus AI : let Grok generate, organize, explain, and challenge ideas. Then let the human verify, choose, refine, and take responsibility. In the bigger picture, Grok represents a broader shift in AI assistance. Bots are moving from simple chat into integrated work systems. They can search, reason, generate media, analyze files, speak, listen, and connect to tools. The future will likely be less about asking one question at a time and more about assigning goals. Research this, compare that, draft a plan, build a prototype, prepare a brief, monitor a trend, or create a video package. That future is powerful, but it also demands judgment. The more capable a bot becomes, the more important it is to understand its limits. Effectiveness should be measured not by how impressive the demo looks, but by how reliably it improves real work. Does it save time? Does it reduce errors? Does it help people understand? Does it make better decisions easier? Does it give users more leverage without removing accountability? For Grok Bot, the answer is yes, it can be highly effective, especially for current information, creative output, explanation, and fast research. But it is most effective when used with clear prompts, source checking, and human review. It is a tool for leverage, not a substitute for judgment. The people who get the most value from Grok will not be the ones who simply ask it to do everything. They will be the ones who learn how to collaborate with it, giving it context, asking better questions, testing its answers, and using its speed to think more deeply, not less. In that sense, the real power of Grok Bot is not that it replaces human intelligence. It is that it can extend it. Used carelessly, it can amplify confusion. Used well, it can turn a single person into a faster researcher, a sharper creator, a better planner, and a more informed decision maker.